All right, guys, we are live with Phil Jones.
All right, guys, what is going on? I'm hoping we'll have Larry Godwin pop back in here. He's dropped off my screen, but nevertheless, guys, welcome into our new format that we're trying for the very first time tonight. You guys have seen a couple of changes that we made doing the show live for a couple of weeks from Big Nick. We certainly enjoyed our time there. There's Larry Godwin back on the screen with us. But this is something whole new that we're doing. For one thing, we're going to welcome in my buddy Flint Dykes, who is going to serve as our producer for every show. And Flint's going to jump in there whenever he is prompted to talk a little high school football. And Flint has got a new show of his own that I'm going to let him talk about here as we go forward. But Flint, thanks so much for helping us get this set up, my man. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, guys, man. Thanks for having me, Phil. It feels like I'm right back at home with you guys, man. So, yeah, thanks again.
Absolutely. Flint came over to Valdosta and actually produced the show for, quite a while, didn't you, Flint?
Yeah, it was a good time, man. I wish I could have done it every single week, but I think that was a few months ago, man. So it feels awesome to be back kind of in this new format, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We're glad to have you back. And again, certainly couldn't do it without all your help. And of course, as you guys see, we've got the one, the only Larry Godwin. Larry, of course, has also come in and produced my show. He's also co-hosted with me. So we've got the big trifecta here as a part of the show. Larry, welcome in, brother, to the whole new format. Larry, you've been encouraging this now for some time. So a lot of the props also goes to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show tonight. As you can tell, I'm not in my studio or back in Valdosta or your studio. I'm actually on the road, and one of the reasons, guys, I've been encouraging Phil and the gang to do something like this is it just opens up so many opportunities, not just for me to come in and out and be on the show while I'm on the road, but it also lends the opportunity to maybe to get other people in different parts of Georgia or really all around the country feel. So, if you have like compelling guests like other head coaches, maybe that have moved on, or a coach that's coming into the area, whatever, you can easily get them on the screen and give them some exposure to your audience. I think it's a great solution. So kudos to the ITG Next game.
Yeah, well, again, Flint is the man who really is the brains behind all this. And again, Flint couldn't have done it without you. Larry couldn't have done it without all of your encouragement. And both of you very tech savvy, which I am not. So I do appreciate your expertise. And again, couldn't do it without either one of you guys. So thanks so much. Again, really appreciate your help. All right. So for all of you out there, here's another big thing that I want to mention about the show. Not only can you catch us just on Facebook, but we're also available at the ITG Next Twitter page. The X page is ITG_Georgia. I believe that's right, isn't it? At ITG_Georgia.
Phil, that is correct. Yes, sir.
Yep. And then we're also available at the YouTube, ITG Next YouTube page, which is at ITG Next. So one of three different ways that you guys can follow the show, comment on the show. I'm going to be following the show tonight on my old trusty Facebook account. So wherever you're commenting at, hopefully I can see your comments. We got several of you that are watching and commenting right off the bat. That's encouraging. Obviously, we are going back to somewhat of a normal time. We were on at 5 o'clock for, I guess, 4 years. We switched it back to 6:30, and now we're kind of coming back somewhere in the middle at 5:30. So let me know if you guys like the time. I personally like 5:30. That allows us to come on, get on the show, and let you guys go about the rest of your evening with your family once we get through. But let us know what you think about the change in times, the change in format. But one thing's going to remain the same. We're still going to be talking about one thing, and pretty much one thing only, and that's high school football. All right. Wilkes Webb is checking in. Big Tiff County guy. What's up, Wilkes? Of course, the one, the only Obadiah Farley is checking in. Thomas County Central's #1 fan is checking in. We got Evan Reese. Of course, I know he is supporting his Roswell Hornets. Evan, I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not, man, but we're going to do the Roswell Hornets coaches show this year with new coach JT Thompson. Man, I'm looking forward to that. I know you will be too. Waylon Polk is checking in from St. Louis, Missouri. Waylon, thanks so much for being a part of the show, brother. Rosser Sutherland checking in as always from up in Marietta, the Blue Devils. Exciting, looking forward to an exciting year under their new head coach. And guys, I'm going to stop right there just for a second. I think the theme of the show early on, of course, has been the theme of the all season. I'm going to get Flint and Larry to comment on this. A lot of new coaches around Georgia and a lot of excitement with the new coaches. And I think that always instills a little bit of, pride and a little bit of, hey, we're number one. We're going to go straight to the state. Anytime you have a new change or you have a coaching change, that always gets fans excited.
Yeah, Phil, one of the most most intriguing hires this year, and it happened recently, was Tucker Pruitt over to Appling County. Especially this late in the spring season, right? I think Tucker's said that they're not going to have a spring practice this year because everything is so late. I don't know if he's trying to put a staff together or what, but that is a very intriguing hire in my opinion.
It is, some people consider that a lateral move, but, one thing's for sure. He's going from one really good program to another good program, going from Fitzgerald to Appling. And also, of course, we've got, speaking of Fitzgerald, Wes Tankersley is taking over, coming from Stevens County, guys. And he's now the Fitzgerald Purple Hurricanes' new coach. I had a chance to be one of the first people to interview him last week. I'm hoping we're going to be getting that full interview up here at ITG Next on our Facebook page, and of course on our other social media platforms. You guys will be able to see my interview with Wes Tankersley, who of course said, "Hey, we're going to keep doing what we've always done at Fitzgerald, which is running the football, but you can also expect to see Fitzgerald throwing the football quite a bit more than what they saw under Tucker Pruitt." I'm sure that makes Fitzgerald fans happy there. Flint, you had a chance to visit with Cameron Duke, new head coach up at Marietta. In fact, you were the first representative from ITG Next to go up there and chat with him. Got a chance to see the guys in action. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Dude, really good guy. I knew him from Orlando, Phil, if you remember. I spoke with him at Orlando when he was with Edgewater. Yep. Loved him, man. Loved him. He's been wanting to get up here. Seems like a stand-up guy. And let me tell you, he will get them going in the right direction. He has got a lot of passion, a lot of energy. I like his coaching style as well. I liked how they attacked the weight room. And we all know it's how you start in that weight room, Phil. Everybody watching this is know I'm a big, big proponent of that, and he hits it hard. The whole Marietta Blue Devils, man, they hit it hard. And so it's very exciting. I'm really glad he's in Georgia, man. Really glad he's up here. So.
Yeah, coming from Edgewater, as Flint mentioned. So just a couple of the mini quarter or the coaching changes I want to mention that we've had across the entire state. And so certainly looking forward to talking about that. Real quick, Obadiah Farley says 5:30 seems okay. I got the notification from YouTube. That's what brought me to Facebook. Now, there's another good addition that we've got that we hadn't had before. Flint, big thanks to you for that, brother.
Hey, we got Griffin Cox Kicking checking in over on YouTube. So shout out to Griffin Cox Kicking on YouTube as well.
All right, so I'm monitoring Facebook. Flint's on, where you at, YouTube?
I'm everywhere, man. I'm everywhere, guys. I
heard that, dog. I mean, he's not lying about that. Flint's got a new show. Flint, tell us real quickly about that and where people can check it out.
We'll breeze through that, but yeah, it's a fun show, man, where we have athletes on, videographers that have been in the game for a while, that we play Call of Duty, talk football, talk sports in general, basketball, just what's going on in the sports world while we're playing some video games and hanging out, man. So it's pretty cool. The X was really good to us last week. So yeah, check us out 7 p.m. on Thursdays on X. Yep.
David Woods checking out, says checking in from the Grayson Rams country. And David, you're going to want to stick around for our next little topic that we're going to kick off the show with, as Larry and Flint and myself going to be talking about something that Flint posted on his very first show last week, and it certainly stirred some controversy. I know Larry's ready to talk about this as well. So Flint, you put out there, and look, this certainly opens up discussion. There's no wrong or right answer, but you're definitely going to get a lot of conversation about it. Flint, you put out there, posted the top 5 football programs in Georgia. And my man went all chalk.
I went big schools. I mostly went big schools. I can almost back it up, though, for all of them, Phil. You know the one that I'm
Larry,
a little...
You know these, by the way?
What's that now?
You know the ones Flint's about to talk about?
No, huh?
Okay, so here we go.
All right, and we'll run through it very quick, and then I'll let you say your thoughts. But let's start off by telling everybody we're not talking all time though. Okay, I'm thinking best football programs. It looks like Larry dropped, and hopefully we'll get him back. I'm talking all football programs the past 2 to 3 years. Let's say that 2 to 3 years. Let me get Larry in here so he can hear what I'm about to say, so he can critique me. There we go. We got you, Larry.
He's back,
So I'm going to start off with Milton. Best offense I've ever seen personally, and they have a great upcoming quarterback, Derek, so I'm not even going to be worried about them this upcoming season. So I'll start with Milton. Number 2, rounding out, Grayson. 3, I have to put Carver at 3. 4, the one Phil was giving me, and this is a no order, guys. This is a no order. I'll say Gainesville. And we'll talk about it. I know they didn't have a good season last season, but maybe it's the hype I am maybe getting caught up in or whatnot. But Gainesville has to round it out for me. And did I miss one, Phil? Did I miss another top 5? What I said, Grayson. Buford. How can I forget? Buford had an amazing season last season, and I'm looking forward to them. Watch out for the Wolves, okay? But Gainesville, yes. Gainesville was a hot topic. They were 7-4, I think, last year, Phil?
Yep.
They didn't have the best season, but you have Xavier Griffin. Come on. It's enough said when you have that kid. He looks like Giannis Akumbo. I mean, he's a freak of nature. As in for the program, you have one of the probably most, I think, I would want to play for Josh Nibble out of anybody. He gets up, he's running marathons in the morning. The guy is full of energy. So and you look at, I don't want to put this in the conversation, but look at the facilities, Phil. Facilities are not, it's like if you go to Gainesville, you are having the best high school football experience. I can promise you that.
I got
you. I rest my case with Gainesville when I say that. So
okay, all right. So I want to get Larry in here. Larry, you've heard his 5, and I want you guys out there. What do y'all think about Flint's 5? Flint's top 5 Georgia high school football programs. Flint's 5. Larry, take it away. What you got?
All right. So Phil, this is one of those. When you told me this topic earlier today, my first question was 5. You're only going to pick 5 teams in the last handful of years. So this is obviously subjective, and it's almost the age. It's almost the question: which one do you like more, Pepsi or Coke? Now, obviously, I just queued that up for you, Phil. I
was going to say, baby, on this show, we know what's number 1, right?
That's exactly right.
By the way, Pepsi, one of our sponsors, along with Dr. Kevin Collins of the Houston Clinic. But go right ahead, Larry.
Yeah. So here's my top 5. And so I agree with Flint. I think, Flint, did you include Milton? I think you did, right?
I did. It's one of the best offenses I've ever seen, probably personally at the high school level. So, Milton for sure.
Yeah, so when you win 2 state titles in the last handful of years, in 23 and 18, then I think you got to be included in that list. I think you have to include Grayson as well. They won last year and in 2020. I think you have to also include a team like Warner Robins, who's won a couple of titles in the last handful of years, but not just that. But Phil, how many times in the last probably 10 years have we talked about Warner Robins maybe not winning a state title, but getting right there to the edge of it? And then the last handful of years, they actually won 2 titles. So I feel like I have to include them in my top 5 as well. Now, this was a newcomer type of team to the scene lately. Now, a team like Thomas County Central, I also added to my top 5 list. They've had a history of strong performance in the past, but they fell on hard times. But Justin Rogers has really turned that program around. And man, from what I've seen out of that program, they won it. When did they win it last year? I can't remember. In 23, I think. Last year they came close again. So he's a powerhouse there. So I included them in my top 5. Now, this is a smaller team, a smaller private team that I also included, and that's a team like Prince Avenue Christian, right? Very, very, very good, smaller private school program. Now, I do have an honorable mention. I kind of colored outside the lines a little bit and added an honorable mention in a team like Benedictine. So we're all familiar with the Cadets, right? They've built a powerhouse over there. Didn't really live up to expectations last year, but still has had a very, very good program. Now, I do want to disagree with Flint a little bit, and that is I just don't know what to do with the Buford Wolves, because this is one of those top tier programs, but they've kind of disappointed at the top level, at the highest classification. So highest quality program as far as facilities, athletes, that kind of stuff. But I just would not include them in the top 5, maybe in the top 10, just because they haven't lived up to the expectations in the highest class yet.
All right, guys, man, everybody seems to be overlooking what I think one of the most obvious programs, but that's what makes this such a conversation piece.
Yeah.
Because the criteria, and I think Flint brought it up in the very beginning, it depends on how you're defining what the top 5 football programs are in Georgia, right?
Yep.
I mean, what constitutes that? What's the criteria? Is it the most state championships? Is it the most wins? How many times have you gone to the playoffs in the last 5 years? So there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. But I think, to me, the ultimate criteria, what's the ultimate judge of being a top program? And I think it's, have you done what's the hardest thing to do, which is win a state championship? And that's where Bowden comes in. Bowden will be going for their 4th straight state championship this year. Now, think about how hard that is to do, to win 1 title, to win 2. And I don't really care if it's Class A or whatever, because all things are relative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're at the Class A level, you're still playing against similar competition. So you're within, the scope of, a consummate and commiserate talent that's commiserate to your level of talent. So my point being that Bowden has won it 3 times. They're going to be going for a 4th, and I think they got a really good chance of doing it. So I think you got to put Bowden in there, to eliminate a team, or to not include a team rather, that's won it for 3 straight years and going for a 4th consecutive state title has got to be included when you're talking about the top football programs. And guys, you got to remember, it's easy to discount the smaller schools. I get that, and again, that's why we tend to go, and I find myself, I'm guilty of it too, going to the bigger programs first and kind of going down from there. So again, it's really tough. There is no right top 5 or wrong top 5. I think all the programs that all 3 of us have mentioned here in the last 10 minutes certainly worthy of a top 5 consideration.
Hey, Phil, let me ask you something. I don't know as much about the programs up there as you do, especially the smaller schools. So, I've got a smaller school on my list in Prince Avenue Christian. You've got a smaller school on your list in Bowden.
Yes.
If you put those 2 teams head to head in the last 5 years, what program comes out on top?
Well, that's hard to answer. Let me answer it this way. So if you go back 5 years, you're probably talking about Prince Avenue Christian in years 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take the last 3 years, I would probably say Bowden. So maybe by a 3-2 vote, I would say Bowden. But again, we're kind of splitting hairs there. Flip a coin.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. I see what you're going there. I see where you're going there. But those are the things you still got to take into consideration when you're talking about top 5 programs. Now, let me mention.
Would you include, since we're talking about smaller teams, would you include John Millage Academy in that list as well?
Well, that's another great take. They won, what was it? Like, they didn't lose a game for 5 years or something. And I may be off there. But another great program. The only reason I would discount them, and I don't mean, any kind of insult with this, I'm looking at, if I was to have a Bowden playing a Buford, you're going to have a pretty good ball game there. Don't let the small school fool you. But I think if John Millage was to come in and play some of the larger schools in public ball, I don't think they'd, stand much of a chance. So again, no insult intended there, no disrespect intended, but I think John Millage would be just on the outside looking in.
Okay. All right.
Flint, what do you think, man? What you got?
I mean, guys, I'm not as expert, I'm not an expert like with the small schools like Bowden, but I did have, the privilege of witnessing them in the championship, met the head coach, kind of fell in love with the program, man, fell in love with what they stand for. It's hard to pick, with all these topics we're talking about. It's going back to like pick 5 school. It's so hard, you know what I mean? And then we leave somebody out. But seriously, the talent, guys. I mean, what about that? Let's talk about that. What about the talent that is just down here? I mean, we're talking about Bowden, Grayson, Brooks County. I mean, Brooks County, guys. Come on. They had a heck of a run last year. I haven't mentioned them, and I feel terrible. Brooks County. I mean, I have high hopes from them. They got George Lamons. I mean, come on. The kid's an awesome athlete.
Cole Moore mentioned, and brought up a good point. And, these things can keep going on and on. Cole Moore mentioned Thomas County Central, 38-3 over the last 3 seasons. Only lost 1 game at home in 3 years against Roswell in the playoffs. Look, wow. That's hard to do. And you're talking about a team at the class now 5A level, which I think Class 5A may be turning into the toughest classification in the state. But different discussion for a different day. So, again, there's just so many different teams, almost impossible to truly define a top 5. I will say this about Gainesville. I think, and Flint's know where I'm going. Look, we've done the coaches show, Gainesville Coaches Show with Josh Niblett now the last 2-3 years. Going to be doing it again this year with him. I got a lot of respect for the man. You can feel the fire. He and I have had a lot of discussions off the air about a lot more than just football. He's a man who, believes obviously in his faith, and he walks the walk, talks the talk. Great family man. I think he's the right guy, and he was brought into Gainesville to win a state championship. Hasn't done that yet. I think this year they've got a great chance to make it happen, but we're going to see. But I think they're just outside that top 5 when you talk about top programs in the state, but not by
definitely.
much.
Definitely, and if we're talking the past, 2 or 3 years, I just kind of see the vision, let's so to speak, and
sure.
I mean, just this upcoming year, Phil, and it should be, if we're looking at paper, it should be their year. Got a lot of guys coming back. You have Xavier Griffin. You got an awesome head coach. You got all the facilities you could ask for, all the nutrition that comes with fueling these athletes. I mean, they got it all, and so I think they will have eyes on them, Phil, to produce this year is what I'll say.
Guys, I got to ask you. Flint just kind of triggered a thought about when he started talking about facilities, that kind of stuff. There seems to be a facilities arms race. It's really, really heating up, right? Everybody trying to race to build their own indoor facility, that kind of stuff, and it makes sense, I guess. I mean, they're just they're so school system officials will give all kinds of justification, that kind of stuff, but the fact is they're building them hand over fist. Now, one of the schools that is about to have a facility come online is Cole Moore's Thomas County Central.
Woo, yeah, they do.
Guys, have y'all seen the video, the walkthrough that Justin Rogers put on YouTube about that facility?
I'll tell you this right now, Larry. I worked out with TCC not long ago, and Coach Rogers took me in his office and showed me that, and my jaw hit the floor. I could not believe that is coming to TCC, and how much that's going to help. I mean, I think. And I don't want to misspeak, but I want to say Coach Rogers said there is a doctor on staff as well that will be there.
Yeah, it's more than just, when we think of an indoor facility, we think, especially at the high school level, we think of, a big old building resembles a warehouse, right? But on the inside is a pure football facility that, they can have other organizations, student clubs come and use the field, that kind of stuff. But it's mainly a football facility. Right, but what TCC has taken it to the next level. They're actually building what I see as an athletic complex, where they've actually got dedicated, huge square footage to different programs. So the football team's going to have their facility, but in attached to the same building, other athletic programs will have their separate space. The band will have its separate space. And what blew me away? 2 things blew me away about that walkthrough. So the band facility, you open the doors, and right outside of the indoor band facility is a turf field just for the band, so they can practice their halftime show right outside of this facility. Now, the football coaches' suites, that's what I call coaches' suites. When Rogers comes out of his office, He can walk out onto a glass door in basically a balcony that overlooks this full-size football field that his team practices on. So you're talking about you're talking about 30, 40, maybe even up to $50 million on this type of facility.
Wow.
I was blown away. And they've actually broken ground. I think they're probably going to be finished with it in the next 4 to 6 months.
And so you got to think that, again, that's all fine and good, and I salute them for sure. You got a lot of programs, like Larry said, it is the arms race when it comes to facilities, and a lot of schools are doing that. By the way, I'll mention this: Rome, which don't get talked about a whole lot, went up there a couple of years ago. We did John Reed gave me and our videographer at the time, I can't remember who went with me, but gave us a full tour. Rome has something like that already. John Reed himself actually drew the whole plan out. Believe it or not, football coach, but he's got a lot more talents. But they have an on-site walk-in clinic. Okay? Anybody coming off the street can go to Rome High School in this brand new facility, multi-purpose facility that they've got, if you need to come in and get a shot for the flu or whatever. And I know Flynn had mentioned earlier about Thomas County Central maybe having a doctor, but that's where we're going. Everything's getting bigger and better. But guys, at the end of the day, what's the number one thing that all schools are looking for? That state championship. That's what matters. That's what counts at the end of the day. And with that, let's segue into my next topic. I just wrote a story, and Anna Limoges is going to be putting this up for us here shortly. But I talked about the teams that won the 2024 state championship. Guys, I think this is going to be the year, 2025, that we are going to have the best chance to see repeat champions across the board. And really? I want to get our viewers, absolutely. I want to get our viewers to check in here with me and join the conversation with your comments. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to start with Grayson. Grayson, the highest classification in the state, they bring back pretty much everybody from a team that was very dominant. Flint, you represented ITG Next last year up at the Georgia Dome. You saw all these teams, so you got a little bit of an edge, and that we're able to see all these teams up close and personal. What are your thoughts on Grayson? They got Travis Burgess coming back, the quarterback. They've got one of the highest rated recruited players and defensive players in the state coming back. What do you think about the Grayson Rams?
Yeah, man. Tyler Atkinson, man, is that linebacker. Yes, he is a beast, man. I checked in, so I actually got to watch that game. The quarterback is phenomenal. I don't think he's talked about enough, and I don't know his name right off the Travis Burgess. Yes, phenomenal. I mean, has the size, has the field vision. Very smart, very calm, very collective. The coach, young guy, very eager to get back at it. I think if I had to right now, I'm putting everything on Grayson to win it again if somebody had to tell me. I just don't see why not. The coaching, we have Tyler, you have the quarterback, you have, I'm sure another good running back coming up. I think the running back graduated last year. But you have the pieces there. And if I had to put money on it, Grayson has all of my attention for this upcoming season. Every single bit of it.
So, one of the games that I'm looking forward to this year with the Grayson Rams is early in the season when they take on Thompson. Thompson has turned into a perennial powerhouse over in the state of Alabama. And so that's going to be a really, really good test for them. So we all expect in the state of Georgia that Grayson is probably going to be the team to beat. With the Buford set aside, I think it's probably going to be another Buford-Grayson type of matchup late in the playoffs. But early in the season, that game is going to give us a pretty good indication of what I think two things of what Grayson has and where their head is, because Grayson has always had super stellar athletes, but the years that they really excel, winning state championships, that kind of stuff, when their head coach can pull everything together, because Grayson is one of those programs that sits in a location where sometimes when you attract super stellar athletes, although they're great athletes, they don't play together as a team. Last year, Grayson played together as a team. And several years ago, when they won a state title, they played together as a team. So this year, with great success they had last year, can they bring all that together again and result in another state title? That game early in the season against Thompson is going to give us a pretty good indication.
All right, so I think Grayson has got an excellent chance of repeating. Let me mention this about Buford. Guys, in my opinion, Buford has probably from top to bottom got the most talent of anybody. I mean, they're going to be right there in the conversation. I thought they should have won it last year, the year before that. They're going to be in the conversation again this year. Everybody, the thing is, kids want to go to Buford. Everybody wants their kids to be a part of Buford's football program. Great coaching staff. Talk about facilities. They're second to none. And guys, by the way, they're about to unveil that brand new multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art stadium, in which is going to see one of the greatest seasons. I've been talking about these season openers. I've been writing this series on some how we're going to have some of the best season openers we've ever seen this year. And right up there at the top, I wrote about Milton at Buford to open the 2025 season. Defending state champion Milton going for 3 in a row. Buford trying to get back on top. They're going to be favored. What a game that's going to be. But I think Buford is always going to be in the conversation, guys.
Well, no doubt, man. You know, when they have these stellar athletes like they do year after year, you know, Buford is, people can give me all kinds of grief for what I'm about to say. Buford has become a destination school.
Yep.
Right. So I think Buford has reached the point where they don't have to recruit. I think they've developed such a reputation and the facilities, that kind of stuff, that if you're going to play in the metro Atlanta area and you're a top tier athlete, that kind of stuff, you're naturally going to want to play with the best, and Buford is one of the best. Now, there are other teams that stake their claim to that as well. I think that Grayson is another great example of that. So with their level of talent year in, year out, they should be heavily favored every year.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, so I think Grayson, Class 6A, going to have an excellent chance of repeating. In fact, I think they're, nothing's a given, but I put them as the favorite to win the 2025 state championship, once again, going back to back. Now let's go to 5A. The team that, of course, has already won back-to-back state championships. Can they make it 3 in a row? I'm talking about Ben Reeves, Milton Eagles. Now, guys, the big question mark, number one question mark that Coach Reeves is going to have, who replaces Luke Nickel? Maybe the best quarterback this state has seen over the last 2 years. Unbelievable accuracy, arm strength. What won me over with Luke Nickel was when he took over that Colquitt County playoff game a couple of years ago. It looked like Colquitt was going to be running away with it. Y'all remember the game. I think it was quarterfinal game, if I'm not mistaken. Like Colquitt had it won, and Luke Nickel single-handedly took that game over, not just with his arm, but with his feet. He could get it done. Strong runner, strong passer. But he's not coming back, guys. He's gone. He's off to the University of Miami. What you've got at Milton now, you got a battle, two-way battle. You had a quarterback come in from Derek Baker came in from St. Augustine, from Fort Lauderdale, St. Thomas Aquinas. And then you've also got the young man out of Milwaukee Science Academy. And his name escapes me right now. He's Jordan Albritton, I believe is his name. Right now, it's Derek Baker who's got the edge. Both these guys are highly recruited. Will Milton be in good hands with their quarterback situation? Either way, yes, they will. But I don't think either one of these guys is a Luke Nickel. But anyway, Milton makes the best use of the tight end that we've ever seen. Grant Haviland is coming back. Every big college in the nation wants him. Again, Milton does more with their tight ends than anybody. Not just blocking, pass. They emerge as one of the top receivers on a team. Tight end is usually not that type of position, but it is at Milton. Let's dedicate that to a great coaching. So anyway, a lot about Milton. I think they will be a 3-time state champion when it's all said and done in 2025. I want to get y'all's take on the Milton Eagles.
Yep. And Phil, I want to jump it really quick before everybody jumps. I want to jump it to catch up on some of the chats coming from X and from YouTube. We got Julian Colbert coming in and said Luke Nickel was the best QB in Georgia. He's battling for a backup spot in Miami. I saw with my own eyes at their practice during several recruiting visits. And he says, Derek Baker, exclamation. And I want to piggyback off his comment about Derek Baker. I witnessed this young man in person. Haven't seen him throw, but went to a weightlifting session and talked to his coaches and met him, talked to him. And Phil, the kid, man, I think Milton is in very good hands. Let me just say that. Very sweet kid, very nice. Seems like he's a very calm. He kind of reminded me of Luke. He seems very calm and poised.
Yeah, he's the gentleman I mentioned that transferred from St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yep. And he is the truth, and he has the size, man. He's a way bigger kid than Luke Nickel. I think it might be a little different scheme this year, man. His legs are huge. I think he can run that ball if he wants to. He looks like he has an arm on him. So I think Milton will be just fine in the quarterback category, in my opinion.
Phil, when you talk about the Milton Eagles, to me, it's pretty simple. And it really comes down to this question. In 5A, who's going to beat them? What team is good enough in 5A to beat? Now, I can think of a handful of teams in the highest classification in 6A that is going to be competitive with Milton, right? Early on, we're going to see a Buford-Milton matchup. But in Class 5A, who is strong enough to beat Milton? You've got some perennial standouts, like, is Lee County strong enough this year? Is Langston Hughes? Didn't Langston's coach just leave?
Yeah, so, when the Northside won to Robbins.
So chances are it's not going to be a Hughes. Is it going to be a Lee County? Is it going to be a Justin Rogers and TCC?
Thomas County Central, yep.
Has got probably the best chance, in my opinion, because they are stacking players. And that's really what you're going to have. Obviously, you're going to have outstanding coaching, and Justin Rogers is an outstanding coach. But you're going to have the firepower, the manpower to overcome the manpower that Milton's got returning, right? And so, to me, the obvious choice is, it goes back to what Ric Flair used to say, to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? So in 5A, who's going to be the man? I just don't see anyone close enough to step up to beat a Milton yet. I may be proven wrong. Justin Rogers may be clipping this video tonight and using that as bulletin board material. I think outside of maybe Lee County, maybe TCC, I just don't see, maybe even a Gainesville. I just don't see very many teams in 5A that have the ability to beat Milton.
Well, now I mentioned earlier 5A may be the best classification from top to bottom. You mentioned Thomas County Central. Hey, we got to remember you got Gainesville in 5A.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got, hey, don't forget Coffee.
You got Coffee County. Mike Coe's done an outstanding job there. But again, it comes down to Jimmy and Joe's. Does he have enough Jimmy and Joe's to overcome Milton's Jimmy and Joe's?
And see, that's a great question. And again, as you mentioned, the Jimmy and Joe's, Milton is absolutely loaded. You're good when you lose, players like a Luke Nickel, but yet you're going to be bringing back, the players that we've talked about. So I think that Milton is going to be definitely favored. So far we've got 2 state champions in 6A, Grayson, in 5A, Milton. I think those guys, in my opinion, are definitely the favorites to win it all again in a year that we're going to see a repeat of state champions. Yeah. So we've got 2 of them there. And I want to mention now, I want to jump to the next state champion down, who I think is going to be a shoe-in, and that's one that that Flint had as one of his top 5 teams in the state, and that is Carver Columbus. Oh, my goodness. This may be from top to bottom. I don't know. I keep saying this a lot, but they may be the best team in the state of Georgia. There's not a weakness there. They've got everybody back. And, man, Carver Columbus, write it down. They're going to be taking on their 2nd consecutive state title this year in Class 2A. I think I said 3A earlier. It's 2A.
That's a strong statement, man. It really is.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's see what our viewers and Flint. You mentioned some folks that were checking us out on. What are you monitoring? Our
X, YouTube, and Facebook. I got it all on one. And with YouTube is kind of popping off right now with Julian saying Gainesville is great. They're loaded up with talent. Even though Milton has lost irreplaceable players, Luke, CJ, and Ethan, top in the country at their positions, in which I think we all can agree with that.
Okay, so Jose Padilla, by the way, Jose says, Phil, I'm back. Jose Padilla, it's great to see you back, my friend. Big Thomas County Central. We got a lot of Thomas County Central fans in here tonight. Thomas County Central represented by so many folks. Jose Padilla says, honestly, and this is a Thomas County Central fan now, honestly, you cannot count out Lee County. But Jose says, I think they lost too much this year. Talk about Lee County just for a second, guys. We want to talk about losing a lot. They lost a lot. Exactly, Flint. They lose Usmani Cromah, one of the best running backs I've ever seen in my life, and I've been watching a lot of high school football. And then, of course, they also lose Weston Bryan. Big 1-2 punch on offense. I don't know if they're going to have enough to overcome that. I can tell you, talking to Dean Fabrizio, quarterback position right now is undecided. So, want to get y'all's thoughts on Lee County, not a state champion from last year, but they obviously have been right there on the door, knocking on the door for a state championship. What do you guys think?
I don't know what to think about Lee County. Just because, Lee County was dominant several years back, but then all of a sudden you had a reclassification, and then all of a sudden you had other teams start to challenge their supremacy. They had some key players graduate, that kind of stuff. And the secret sauce to Fabrizio has always been, when he had his dominant years, someone would graduate, he had another player that was ready to step up, right? And so who's going to step up for a Cromah? I mean, he was such a impact player for his 4 years there at Lee County. Do they have another horse of a running back like they had in Cromah? Is it going to have to be their quarterback that steps up and wins with his arm? So, when it comes to Dean Fabrizio, guys, I would never, ever count him out, because I've seen where he can turn wide receivers into quarterbacks, that kind of stuff, and still win. Because we saw that a few years back, Phil. So to me, it's way, way too early to really pass any type of prediction or judgment on Lee County. I just got to wait to see what they have.
Absolutely. All right, what do you guys think about Lee County? Looking at our comments, A.B. Brown, what's up, Phil? Bainbridge, Thomas County Central in the house. A.B., which is it, man? Are you Thomas County Central or are you Bainbridge? Come on now, you can't do that. You can't represent three different teams, man. Come on. I'm just messing with you. By the way, I'm just seeing where my recent conversation, my interview with new Fitzgerald head football coach Wes Tankersley has just posted on our ITG Next platform. So you guys check it out. One of the first interviews I was able to grant with new Fitzgerald head coach Wes Tankersley. All right, let's see what we got here. Looking at some of the comments coming across. You guys are welcome to chime in anytime you want. What do you think about our predictions with the defending state champions that I think have got an excellent chance of repeating? What do you think about Lee County? Will they get back in the mix like Larry has thrown out there? What do you think? Let us know. And do you guys think, like Flint was saying, that this could be Gainesville's year? Finally.
And Phil, I want to read out Julian had another good comment, about Weston and Lee County, and said Weston had 30-plus rushing TDs. Lee County was so effective at running the ball. They ran a 2-minute no-huddle offense with only running the ball. With that being said, I want to add on, so what does it look like this year, guys? That's what we saw last year. We got a 240-pound quarterback. We got a all-star running back. You lose these guys. Phil, what does this Lee County offense look like? That's why I can't say one thing about Lee County because I'm so confused. What do they look like? Are they going to throw it more? I mean, what do they do, Phil?
So I think Dean Fabrizio, he's been around too long. I think he's built a great feeder system, and of course they're going to have some move-ins just like everybody else does. I think they're going to be fine at running back. I think quarterback is indeed going to be. Look, every team. This is the case for every team. You'll go as far as your quarterback will take you. Okay. And unless they find the right guy at quarterback, which they've had the right guy in Weston Bryan these last couple of years, it's going to be interesting to see what Lee County's able to do. I just don't know. Again, because of that quarterback question mark, I don't know if they're going to have enough to get over the top. And again, what we're talking about, Larry called it earlier, Class 5A, the toughest classification, I think, in the state, from top to bottom.
100% agreed. No doubt.
Jose Padilla, by the way, says Milton versus TCC for the state title. I'm calling it right now. Central's got a lot of returning players. He may not be that far off, guys. I'm telling you, and I think that's going to be a good one if they are able to meet up.
Phil, I got a question for you, and it's
man.
from a kind of from a comment. I want to get Larry's thoughts on this as well. We had a comment. Brian came in and said Coffee versus Colquitt Thursday night in a spring scrimmage game. How do we feel about scrimmage games, guys? I want to hear both of your thoughts on, are they necessary? What do we look at these scrimmage games to tell us something? Your thoughts, guys.
Larry, you want to go first?
Yeah, when it comes to spring scrimmages, and especially playing another team, it's fun if you're a fan. I put zero stock in spring scrimmage as far as competition goes, because the purpose of a spring scrimmage is to play every player, get them on film, and for the purpose of coaching evaluations, right? Yeah. And so as a fan, you can't put any stock in a spring scrimmage. We've seen teams just fall flat on their face in the spring, and that's because they played everybody on the roster, right? So, and in a spring scrimmage, you've basically got a more condensed game. You don't have really live conditions. There's usually no kickoff. There's hardly punting. You can't bring the quarterback to the ground, that kind of stuff. So it's entertaining for fans. It gives us an indication of what we think our team has coming back, but that's about it. Anything other than that is just fan banter.
All right, Flint, I'll give you my answer on that. Okay, and kind of along the lines with Larry, I think at the end of the day, it's not it's more for the fans than anybody. Now, I will say this, teams get to get a little bit of gate out of it, which always helps, okay, especially if you're going to be, if you're not going to have that many home games during your regular season. So maybe you're able to get a little bit of money off the gate if you charge whatever, $5 for people to come in and watch the spring game. That's one added benefit. But let me answer it this way. I think the spring games, their meaning has a lot depending on what your team's expectations are. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Tift County, for example. Okay, we all know what Jeff Littleton has been able to do. He's got that community excited for the first time in a long time about high school football. I think you guys would agree with that. We saw the game last year. We did the game. It was our game of the week, Tift County versus Colquitt County. Tift County did not win, but Tift County threw the ball up and down the field. They moved the ball up and down the field on a very good Colquitt team, and that caused a lot of excitement. Tift County is reborn under Jeff Littleton. I say that to say if you're a team like Tift County and looking for positives, the spring game can mean a lot to you, okay? Now, if you're a team, and let me mention this, speaking of Tift County. So Tift County is going to go to battle with Langston Hughes in the spring game. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think this is going to be one of the more interesting and intriguing spring games, as intriguing and interesting as spring games can get. Okay?
Hey, Phil, can I chime in for 1 second right here?
Yeah.
Just so everybody watching knows this, funny enough that you mentioned this spring game, as soon as I looked down at my phone, Milla, who does the show with me on Thursday, texted me, and he will be at that spring game giving us info Thursday night on Langston Hughes and Tift County. But go ahead, Phil. Yep, go ahead.
So the reason this is intriguing, and again, I'm with Larry. For 99% of the time, they mean nothing. Coaches don't like them. I mean, we're seeing a lot of coaches not even having spring practice. I mean,
right.
We've talked about this. You only get 10 total practices out of the 15 days allowed, so you don't really gain a lot. However, one of the exceptions is this Tift County situation. Tift County still building, still looking for positives. Last year, they were able to break through. There were rays of sunshine that finally shone down on the Tift County program under Jeff Littleton. So they're going to try to get as much as they can. They will put forth an effort in the spring game. Tift County will against Langston Hughes. On the flip side of that, Langston Hughes, what do they have to prove? They played for a state title last year. They won it, in 2022. By the way, they've got Coach Hines back, who was their offensive coordinator of that record-setting offense that year. He's back as the head coach this year, replacing Coach Boone. So two different situations. Langston Hughes, they want to go down to Tiff County and get out of there with nobody hurt. They have nothing to prove. Tiff County, on the other hand, they hope to get a big crowd. They hope to bring excitement to build on that in the offseason heading into the 2025 season. So 2 different levels of expectations in that spring game, but that's what these spring games mean to different programs.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, I just, as a fan that kind of keeps track of this stuff, I just don't put very much stock into these things other than just to give us a glimpse of what's coming.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. So Carver, Columbus, I mentioned them. I mentioned Grayson. I mentioned Milton. I think those are 3 state champions that I think have a very good shot at going back to another state title. I mentioned Bowden earlier, the Bowden Red Devils. And again, a lot of people don't give them credit. They're the other Carrollton team. A lot of people don't even know where they are. They're in Carrollton, Georgia. They're playing there in the shadow, of course, of the Carrollton Trojans, which, by the way, Flint, Carrollton may have been considered for a top 5 program. Just saying.
100%. I'm surprised no one else got on me about that. I mean, come on, having Juju last year, doing what they did, and we'll get off this, guys. But what are they looking like this upcoming season? I haven't really heard much from the Carrollton camp. What's going on with them, guys?
So go ahead, Larry. Go ahead.
I really don't have an answer for you. I really don't know who they're going to, because he was their offense. Could we all agree on that? The last several years, he was
definitely
their
if
offense.
If you think Carrollton, you think Juju, and so as soon as he left, and it's not a knock or anything, I just haven't heard as much coming out of the training and the practices as much as these other schools. Let me say that.
Yeah, I will answer the question this way. Juju Lewis and the Carrollton Trojans are a great example of, and he had a great supporting cast around him as well, right? So great athletes all across the board of Carrollton. But there's usually a superstar athlete like Juju Lewis that will propel a team for several years in a row. And that's why in high school, in particular in the state of Georgia, sometimes you'll see a team get on a run, whether it's 2 or 3 years straight, maybe a back-to-back state championship, and throw in a semifinal or a quarterfinal in there. And so it's very commonplace to see some of these programs go through cycles of great athletes. Now, you can debate whether or not they're homegrown or move in or whatever, but sometimes especially when we started led off this show by talking about the top schools over the last 5 years, right? A lot of those schools included teams that just got on a run because they had great cycle of athletes. So what's going to be interesting about Carrollton is now that Juju Lewis and others have graduated, right? So is their run over? Joey King doesn't hope that, right? He hopes not, but it's going to be interesting to see if that run is over and another cycle picks up with another program.
Guys, real quick, there's a lot of similarities here between Carrollton and Gainesville. Okay, the ultimate state championship, okay, has eluded both schools over the last few years. Although both schools, we know that they have great programs. Boy, you want to talk about facilities. Carrollton really was one of the first programs in the state to put up the inside practice facility. My gosh, they got their own bus, guys. Joey King, if I was thinking, he's the highest paid coach by far in the state.
Yeah.
Over $200,000 a year. And that's okay, guys. That's public record. So I'm not saying anything that, is private. But Gainesville, on the other hand, kind of like the same thing. Expectations are sky high. We keep waiting, though, for both programs to bust through and win that state title. So I see a lot of similarities. 2 programs with everything you could ask for. Let's just see if they can finally break through and get that state title this year. But I do want to ask this while I go back and check some of the comments we got coming in, guys. By the way, great new debut of our new format today. Let us know what you guys think about it. Let us know what you think about the new starting time of 5:30. Do you guys like this? I do, but let me know what you guys think. And again, big shout out to our show sponsors, Pepsi Cola of Valdosta and Dr. Kevin Collins, orthopedic surgeon, orthopedic doctor with the Houston Clinic. Dr. Kevin Collins, MD.com. Check him out, guys, if you have any kind of need for orthopedic work. All right. So who has taken the place of Juju Lewis? I've heard they've got a transfer quarterback. I think he came from Tennessee. Now, here's what's intriguing. You guys remember when Juju went out last year in the playoff game?
Yeah.
And the backup quarterback came in, and man, they did not miss a beat. And again, his name escapes me. You guys, I know we got some smart viewers out there. Help us out with those names. So I think though they were not satisfied with the guy returning. They went out, got a transfer who's coming in, maybe from North Carolina, one of those states. Anyway, let us know who it is. Let us know what you think about him. But I just wanted to ask that real quick about Carrollton's quarterback. And guys, just like looking for a replacement for Weston Bryan, trying to, and Luke Nickel. Imagine trying to replace Juju Lewis. I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, I don't think it's replacing. I think it's just, who can we get to fill this gap, for now.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Again, looking for your comments here. Dias TG says Milton Eagles sleeper team this year, not as loaded, but they are thorough. I think that's an excellent assessment. Want to see give a big shout out to Oscar Miles, who is checking in. All right, let us know who the replacement is for Juju, guys. I know you guys know who it is. All right. So we've come down to our other two state champions that I think will be repeating this year. Talking about, we talked about Toombs, or we talked about, we've got Carver Columbus going to repeat, I think. We've got Milton going to repeat. Grayson going to repeat. And that leaves us with my other two predictions of who I think is going to repeat this year. And that is Bowden and Toombs County. We got any Toombs County fans? And again, here's another situation where Toombs County, where they at in Lyons, Georgia, Class A Division, Division II. Those schools don't get a lot of prep, don't get a lot of recognition, but man, they are as strong as anybody. But those are the other two programs, I think, guys, in the state that are going to be looking at repeat. So 2025 is going to be the year of the repeat. John said it first.
Phil, in that same division that Toombs County's in, what are they, single A Division I or something like that? So the top program last year, but there's some really, really strong teams in that division, right? So what do you have? Dublin, Fitzgerald is in that division.
Exactly.
Now, and so is.
Looks like we might have lost Larry.
Larry, we lost you. Larry, there he is. He's back.
Yeah. Sure why I keep getting disconnected. So I've talked to Flint about that offline.
Yes, sir.
So, that producer, we're going to have to
get me in check, guys.
That's right. So speaking of that division, Phil, you got some intriguing storyline heading into the season with Fitzgerald, Tucker Pruitt going to Appling, Tankersley getting hired at Fitzgerald. He's a capable coach, right? But you've got two games that Fitzgerald I'm looking forward to this year. I'm not usually a Fitzgerald football follower. Man, that was a tongue twister. But Fitzgerald and Irwin County, because Irwin County is going to have, I think, a new head coach this year.
Yep.
So you got a major rivalry with two brand new head coaches. Then you got a game a little bit later in the year, later in September, Fitzgerald against Appling County. And Appling is the team that Tucker Pruitt just went to, right? So two games that I'm looking forward to seeing Fitzgerald play this year.
Yeah, and listen, you mentioned Irwin County. Again, they could very well be in the conversation. When's the last time Irwin County had a losing season? And by the way, Irwin County, another team. How about this? Irwin County and Fitzgerald, they've had the same coaches for years and years. Now they're going to be going into 2025 with brand new coaches. And I can't think of who Irwin County's new head football coach is, but again, new faces in both those programs. Great rivalries between those two, by the way. I will mention this, Wes Tankersley. I meant talking about rivalries. I asked Wes, and you guys can check out the interview I had with Wes Tankersley, as I see that it's now been posted at our ITG Next Georgia platform. Wes Tankersley said, look, at Fitzgerald, when it comes to our non-region schedule, I want us to play our neighbors for the non-region schedule. So that means not going, we saw some of these teams that went out of state this year to play these non-region games. Tankersley said, look, I'm not opposed to that, but I'd rather us play some of our neighbors. Hey, that could mean a return to have Tift County and Irwin playing. Irwin Fitzgerald playing. And I think that's what fans want to see. What are y'all's thoughts about these non-region games, but trying to stay in close and have these natural rivalry games?
I like them. I really do. I think they're fun to watch, especially, two programs like Fitzgerald and Irwin County. Larry Harold is the guy that you're thinking about.
There you go.
He is the new head coach for Irwin County. So that's going to be fun to watch a little bit earlier in the season. So I love these. I wish some of these teams down here would reestablish some of these long-time rivalries. They don't play each other, especially the higher classification schools. They don't play each other anymore for the most part when they leave classifications. I would love to see Lowndes and Coffee County strike up their rivalry they've had over the years, right? I would love to see a Thomas County Central come over to Lowndes, or a Thomas County Central go over to Ware County. That would be an awesome rivalry to set up.
100%. All right. I want us to take one last swing through our comments. I want to thank everybody for checking out the show today. Flint, I want you to take a look. I know that you're monitoring all three of our platforms. I'm monitoring our Facebook comments. So, Flint, what you got, man? Who's talking about what on our different platforms?
Yep, let's get Larry. We're going to have to figure Larry's situation out right here, Larry. I don't know if it's me or you, but we're going to have a chat about this offline.
Yeah.
But hey, by the way, if you're monitoring comments too, Larry, you can check in as well, brother.
And so
I will say this, Rufus as demand, being a smart butt, says Lowndes is going to repeat. Now I think he's talking about baseball.
And Phil, we got
there's a really good shot. Lowndes is leading the number 9 team, Etowah Eagles, number 9 team in the nation.
Yes.
Number 1 in the state of Georgia, the Etowah Eagles, 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th.
How about that? I posted, by the way, that matchup. You want to talk about two icons in the state. And real quick, like Flint, hold that thought. But we've been talking about having these top teams battle each other before it gets to the state championship. We had this with Lee County Milton in the football state playoffs. I mean, we seem to have it in every sport. And now we've got it in Class 6A baseball playoffs, Flint and Larry. You've arguably got the two best teams in the state's highest classification playing in this semifinal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of these teams is going to have to go home, and that is a shame. These are the two best teams playing for a semifinal. I'm all for reclassification or reseeding, rather. I've been talking about it. It's not an easy thing to do. It's going to take some decisions, some different discussion, but this is why you have reseeding for this right here. Flint, go back to what you were saying, brother.
Yep, no, I was just going to go through and read some of the comments. I don't want to forget. Oh, Evan Reese up here says, don't forget about North Oconee, Phil.
You're right.
And then we got Julian Culver coming back with us. And guys, forgive me if I mispronounce this name, but Mason Holtzclaw is the new QB transfer at Carrollton. And that actually is a lot of good news. We need to confirm that, but we need to find out who Mason Holtzclaw is. Can he save the Carrollton Trojans?
Yeah,
then we got...
Yeah, good one.
And then Obadiah, that was a great comment. He says the new setup is okay. Maybe add the names of the people so we know who is speaking. And then that's an awesome comment, Obadiah. And then Jamie goes, like the new setup. So thank you, Jamie. And then we got Jeffrey down. Had a tough day and need to chill. Think I'll do it with a Pepsi and smooth tones of Uncle Phil. What a better way, Jeffrey. Isn't that, Jeffrey? I told Phil, Jeffrey, that his voice is just that voice. So, Jeffrey, good comment, man. Thank you.
Jeffrey Rowland. We're going to ease it out of here with a little Barry White. No, Jeffrey, I appreciate that. I'm definitely enjoying my zero sugar Pepsi, by the way, without a doubt. Yeah.
And that wraps up the comments, Phil. I think Greg Maddox came in and said, whoever wins between Lowndes and Etowah will be your state champions.
So, Phil, I've just been told that Lowndes takes game 1 versus Etowah.
Woo! That is huge.
Wow.
Guys, that is major. That's at Noel George Field, and it's a best of 3. Now Lowndes, all they've got to do is win one more. The best team in the state, arguably, has got to come back and win 2 in a row. It's not over yet, but that's a huge get for the homestanding Lowndes Vikings.
Shout out to those baseballers and to Coach Ryan Page, head coach of the Lowndes baseball team. Listen, I was listening to that game, on the road coming into the hotel, and they got down quick. Etowah went up 3-1 early in the game, and those Vikings, man, showed a lot of heart, battled back. Held Etowah scoreless through the last half of that game and took it, I believe, 4-3.
That is fantastic. So congratulations to Ryan Page and the Lowndes High Vikings. All right, continuing to monitor some comments before we get out of here. Again, it is our brand new format, our first day. A big shout out to my buddy Flint Dykes. Flint is the one that helped us put together, but also Larry has been a proponent of going to this format for quite some time. Listen, it's definitely a stripped down version. We don't have the helmets in the background. We don't have the lights. I'm not having to put on makeup. Thank goodness. But we are stripped down. And listen, at the end of the day, all you need is us talking football. I think that's what it's just the content that matters for sure. Stephen Tate checking in. Coffee fan. What's up, Stephen? Stephen says, evening, guys. Kelly Mitchell, listen, Kelly reminds us about his Brooks County Trojans. Says, my mighty Brooks County Trojans will be making another run. Guys, let me mention this. Flint, you mentioned spring football, or one of y'all did mention spring football practice. Does it really mean anything? Let me tell you the beauty of this time of year. The thing that spring football practice does for you, it gives everybody renewed hope. We're number one.
Yeah.
We're going to win it all. We're all 0-0, okay? And that's the beauty of spring football. But now, between now and this summer, these 7-on-7s, this is going to separate the men from the boys, as they say.
Man, you are not kidding. When it comes to spring ball, hope springs eternal. So it's always our team is the best, and we're going to beat our chest, and we don't have to be proven wrong until September rolls around.
That's right. So as we get ready to close shop today here on this, this brand new, this first rollout of our brand new format, where you guys can check us out at any of our 3 platforms, our X/Twitter account, our YouTube, and of course, as always, our Facebook page. It's Extra Point with Phil Jones, going to be coming to you on at 5:30 every Tuesday. Greg Maddox, by the way, the all-time Baseball Hall of Famer. I always give him a hard time about that. He's a big Lowndes fan. Greg Maddox says, whoever wins between Lowndes and Etowah are going to be your state champions. You're probably going to be right about that one, my friend. So, all right, Gabe Garrett. Like I've said the last few weeks, Tomb's going to repeat season loading. I'm with you there. By the way, my story will be out shortly. I just wrote this story on who I think the 2024 state champions that will be repeating. And I'll give you a little bit of tease on that. I think Toombs County is going to repeat. I think Bowden's going to repeat. I think Carver Columbus is going to repeat. I think Milton is going to repeat. And I think Grayson is going to repeat. And I don't think it's that hard when you take a look at their rosters. I think those are going to be your this and I don't know. This may be the first year, maybe in a while, we've had so many repeating state champions. And by the way, somebody help me out here. If Bowden wins 4 in a row, when's the last time, if ever, that's been done in Georgia high school football? Listen, I've never purported that I know everything. I don't. The beauty of this show is I reach out to you guys. I ask y'all questions. I ask you to help me out on this. So when's the last time anybody won 4 in a row, if they've ever done it?
I don't know, man. That's a great question. Did the great Valdosta teams ever do that?
I've got to look back and do some research here. Flint, I don't guess you know anything. Do you know about that at all?
I'm lost, man. The first thing that came to mind is what Larry said with the old Valdosta teams, and I'm trying to picture that wall at Valdosta in my head to see if there was any 4 in a row up there, but I can't think right off the rip right now.
I can answer the question for you right now.
Okay.
Valdosta has never won it 4 years in a row. Now, they've had plenty of stretches where they've won it 3 years in a row, 4 out of 5, that kind of stuff, but never 4 consecutive years in a row.
Gabe Garrett, like the predictions, Phil. I kind of figured you would, Gabe. But, again, winning a state championship is hard. Winning 2 in a row is hard. Winning 3 in a row is almost unheard of. Winning 4 in a row is almost unheard of. That's why you got to remember, I think you keep Toombs County, Bowden, when you're talking about truly great programs in the state. Joshua Chase Garnto adds, "I'm glad everyone's sleeping on Lowndes. Larry, you're pretty close to this situation. Larry hosts the Viking Nation. Larry, does Lowndes have what it takes in Class 6A to go all the way? When we talk about facilities, top of the line there."
That is an interesting question, just because of what's happening at the 6A level with some of the. I think you've heard me use this phraseology before. With what's happening with some of these super assembled teams in the Metro Atlanta area, right? So it's going to be moving forward. I don't want to say it's not possible, but it's going to be very, very difficult for teams in Class 1-6A, whether it's Colquitt, Lowndes, Camden, Valdosta, whoever. Maybe even Richmond. It's going to be very difficult for one of our teams to go up there and knock off a Buford or knock off a Grayson. Now, hear what I just said. We all started this show talking about these teams that repeat and the reason why they repeat, whether it's Grayson or Buford or some of these other teams up there. And then you follow it up by asking the question, can a Lowndes win a state title? Can a Colquitt County win a state title? In order to do that, you have to go through teams like Buford and teams like Grayson. Can we do it? Yeah, we beat Grayson before. We beat them plenty of times before. We've never beat Buford. I think we've only played them one time. But it's going to be very difficult to overcome what the super assembled teams have done in the Metro Atlanta. So I think your specific question is, heading into this season, can Lowndes do it? I think Lowndes has the potential. Lowndes is putting together a very special team this year. I didn't think so earlier in the year, but some of the talent that is starting to rise up to the top at Lowndes is very impressive. The thing that may hold them back is some youth and inexperience, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But if those guys can learn quickly, then the sky's the limit for this program that's going to hit the field this year. Lowndes is going to have a really, really good team this year.
Hey Larry, let me pause and let me just give you one word or one name. Yeah. Jace Johnson.
Oh yeah.
That's all I'm telling you, that kid has impressed me so much, even from last year, Larry. He's an awesome kid, man. I'm very excited to see him, and especially his development over the offseason. And I'm very excited to see him. And fill us in, and sorry, I don't want to ramble about that, but the wide receivers, was very familiar with Jalen last year, but I know he's gone. Who's at the wide receiver? Who's he throwing that pigskin to?
Well, there's a kid that's starting to stick out, really young kid. I think he is either going to be a freshman or sophomore this year. Keep your eyes for the name Kayvon Thomas.
Kayvon Thomas.
So, he's getting some offers early on. He was a standout last year for the Lowndes program. Keep your eye. Now, there's a couple of other kids that I won't give away their names just yet, but there are a couple of kids that, that's where I'm going to stop right there. But the name to keep your eye on this coming season is going to be Kayvon Thomas. So Jace Johnson throwing to Kayvon a pretty good bit. There's another running back. One of the things that Lowndes had to do as well is replace a couple of really, really good running backs from last season, primarily Road Dog Aleem Brown. So we've got another kid that's coming up that's going to be really, really special as well. So I'm telling you, man, from the skill position, Lowndes is going to be very, very loaded. The thing that's got to come around quickly is that defense.
Right.
Yeah, and I was going to mention, I know, Flint, you worked out with Lowndes. I know it's been a little while. So you had a chance to see him up close and personal. You think they've got the big guys? You think they've got the big hogs, the strength to get it done up front?
I can just point you to one play, Phil, that sticks out in my head is that time they pushed themselves to a touchdown. What was it, 80 yards, 70 yard, push?
Yes.
That should tell you. That should tell you they got the grit, they got the heart. I don't care how big they are, Phil, because I promise you, you get that little guy. I will take what I saw that day any day of the week.
Now
That
here's
was
the thing about
unbelievable. Who was that quarterback? Who's that running back, Larry, that ran that? The
Marvis
Marvis
Parrish.
Parrish.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, guys.
I'm sorry, Larry.
You asked about the offensive line up front. Lowndes has all their offensive linemen returning.
Oh, so everybody I worked out with them will be back.
That's
So,
huge.
yep.
The two bookends in particular are getting major offers from the D1 level. You're talking about kids like Abram Eisenhower and Ben Corhey, the left tackle and the right tackle respectively, and those guys are going to be anchoring that offensive line. We got some really, really good athletic offensive guards as well. And so that offensive line, I am not worried about at all last year. I was a little bit worried about the skill players because we graduated a whole bunch of them. But man, we got some studs ready to step up. Again, my only concern is how quickly can that defense learn on the fly?
All right.
Guys, that is going to wrap us up for this debut edition of Extra Point. I say debut edition. We've been doing the 5 years, but a different format, a different look, a different time. We're getting some mostly positive comments. Next week, I want to hear about your dark horse teams. I've seen so many great comments, but I want to save some of these for next week. Looking at some of these teams who were trying to get back. Bainbridge, Tift County.
Yes.
That's kind of what I'm looking for next week. Who are some of the other dark horse teams? And by next week, guys, we're going to see how this Tift County team did against Langston Hughes. That's one, as spring games go, that, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be intriguing to watch for. Guys, I'll give you the final word as we get ready to get out of here. What you got?
It's going to be a fun off season starting here in just a few weeks when graduation hits us. That's when we'll take a little bit of time off, but the football programs all across the state will start their summer workouts with OTAs and 7-on-7s, that kind of stuff. And so you'll see fans like us have glimpses across the state of how well their skill players are. We'll get reports on OTAs, that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to the off season. But this week, for a lot of programs, you'll see spring activities come to a conclusion as well. Some teams are going to have spring scrimmages against other programs this coming Thursday night. Lowndes is going to be playing an intra-squad crimson and white scrimmage. Some teams are going to take the spring off. But it's what we'll start to see where the teams start to gel and we'll have a better idea is, mid-June to late June, we should start to have an idea of where these programs are headed.
Flint, what you got, man? Your parting shot today.
Yep, man. I just want to say thanks again for having me on. Feels good to be back talking some football. Very excited to get into the season. And yeah, guys, if you like talking sports, I go live every Thursday night on X playing Call of Duty, talking with athletes, talking with videographers, all the above, just talking what's going on in sports. And thanks to your chat, man. Thanks to the Extra Point family for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey, listen.
Again, yep.
Before you go, man, James Reimer's got an interesting.
I saw that.
He said, like the new format, probably needed to save cost to cover Larry's appearance. We need to reopen negotiation.
Yeah,
he's exactly right.
Larry is very reasonable on our cost savings format. I can promise you that. All right, guys. Thanks so much for all the comments. If I overlook your comment, don't take it personally. I try to get everybody, but I do miss some of you. And again, love all you guys, man. Thank you so much. Flint Dykes, thanks for making it happen. Larry, thanks for making it happen. Guys, thanks for joining us today. And we will be seeing you guys next Tuesday, 5:30.